If you want to handle any sales objection, there's a method that I continuously use called the GAY method. And I'm going to go over here on how you can get past any objection, any smokescreen that you're having in your sales calls, and how to overcome them through this logical flow that I'm about to present. So likely the objection that you're going to get a lot from any service or coaching that you're offering is they're going to say, I've tried this before and it didn't work, or I've been burned before, or I don't think it's going to work, blah, blah, blah. All objections are pretty much the same. It just means that they're unable to take action today to improve their situation, or there's someone who needs to think about it but won't take action today. It all comes down to they have past experiences on they've always think about things, they got burned before, and they won't take action now. Right? So all objections are the same. It just means I'm not going to do something right now with you on the call. So what we need to do is we need to acknowledge that and go through the psychology to show them that, okay, well, how is that way of thinking I'm not going to do anything now going to do any good for us? Right? It's not going to. Because if you continuously go with the way of thinking, I'm just going to think about things and never do anything, you just end up, that's why you're here, right? You don't need to take any action. So what they're saying is, I won't take action due to my past experiences. Smoke screen of just being uncomfortable and not taking action, right? And one way that we need to do first is we acknowledge, totally, man, totally understand. You want to diffuse the situation, have them let their guard down. Because right now their guard is like way up here. They're like, this guy's making, they know that this guy's, you're a sales guy, you're going to make me try to make a decision on the spot. I'm not going to do it. I've been burned before, I need to think about it, blah, blah, blah. You need to diffuse the situation, make it lighthearted. You don't want to treat this as a sales call. You don't want to make them feel the pressure, right? Let their guard down, right? You want to diffuse the situation with the lighthearted. I'm like, most of these guys, they're dudes, right? Or they're girls. By the way, they have significant other. So I'll say, hey man, you're married, right? Jonathan, you're married, right? Or you have a girlfriend, right? Or like you've gone on a couple dates with girls, right? Just depending on how young or where your person's at. Like, hey Jonathan, you're married, right? He's like, yeah, totally. I'm like, awesome. Like to meet, what's her name? Karen. Okay, to meet Karen, like you obviously, you talked to a couple girls, probably in the past, like before you met Karen, right? But, you knew that Karen was the right one only because you had to talk to some other girls, and not all of them were great, right? So we had to go, obviously I had a couple girlfriends, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and so like if you meet a girl, man, and she cheats on you, or you don't feel like she's a good fit, like you have some bad experiences, and that just comes with most things. But when on the path to like meeting Karen, did you ever give up, or get cheated on, stop looking for a girl? Did you want to turn gay? Right? And he's like, well, no, I obviously continue looking for the right thing. Yeah, well, no, right? Just kidding, man. Like, we obviously continue to find the right girl and find the right, and wanted to still find our wife no matter what. I'm not going to let past experiences to get in the way of the destination and finding what we want, right? We're going to get what we want, right? And so this lighthearted analogy that I have them agree to diffuses the uncomfortable situation decision that they need to make right now, right? Diffuses the situation. This is very important because you want to let their guard down, right? So I have this joke that you would turn gay to diffuse the situation, right? Now I want to turn them into results-based thinking. So I take them out of them letting their guard down, which is way up here, totally guard down. The analogy, they agree with me. They agreed with me on one thing. I say, hey man, so from what we talked about, let me look back to the program, man. Do you think that it's going to work for you? And they say yes or no, and be like, hey, like, why do you think it's going to work, or why do you think it's going to work? Right? Okay, so do you feel like it can get you like X result, right? Y result, right? And I'll ask them two things. So, okay, so if you get 100,000 a month, like what would you do with the 100,000? Like what would you do personally? And okay, you want a car? Okay. So like, do you think you can get a car, new car with what you're doing right now? Okay, why not? Right, so I put them back into results-based thinking to make them admit that what they're going through right now won't get this X result, and that they want this X result, and they believe what we can do for them will work for them. Next thing, okay, so man, I'm glad that you think that we can help you, man. At the end of the day, we shouldn't even be on this call if you don't feel like I can help you, man. I have the best interest in mind. So like, man, like, what do you think would happen if we just continue doing the same thing and what we're doing now 6 months from now? Right? And okay, like, make them elaborate a little bit more. Say like, what do you mean by, well, I'm just not gonna be anywhere, right? So, well, I'm not gonna make any money. Well, what would that actually do for you? Like, elaborate. Like, so I would go in a little bit detail. And like, hey man, it's like, I mean, do you want that to happen, right? You want to kind of dig a little bit deep into the pain. And so they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, man, I get it, man. I mean, this is, an uncomfortable decision for you to make, right? And it's meant to be, right? So yeah. And obviously, man, like, you're here for a reason, right? We're here to solve a problem and to grow a business and to provide for a family, all these things. We have to believe that we're someone who overcomes uncomfortable decisions, right? To provide for your family. And so to grow your business, like, do you think you need to get over the uncomfortable decisions that you have to make to get to where you want to be? Or you got to stick with what's kind of comfortable for you and just stay where you're at, right? And they're going to say, one or the other, but more so I'll dig a little bit deeper. And obviously, man, so like, the guy's making 100K per month, the future you 6 months from now, like where you want to be, what would this 600K Jonathan do today to grow the business? Like, what kind of decision would he make now? Right? And he's like, okay, well, he would invest in the program. Right? And so what I'll do next is, hey, so, okay, what do we need to do now? Right? What do we need to do now to make sure that, 6 months from now, we don't have that consequence and you're able to provide for your family and get X result, right? And then convince them to make the decision right then and here. But you cannot skip any of these things and get to this, or else all this logic is not going to make sense. If you don't diffuse the situation and make it lighthearted, their guard is never going to lower. And then if you don't put them into results-based thinking, they don't believe what you think will do will work. They don't believe in the consequences of their indecision, and they definitely don't envision what they will actually gain. And the next thing is, if you don't press upon the pain point, you dig a little bit deeper, it won't get to them. They won't realize it for themselves. All these questions that I'm asking is getting them to dig deeper on what do they want? Do they understand the pain that they're feeling? Right? Do they understand that the same old thinking is going to get the same old results? Right? And so we go through all these questions, and then we point out, point blank, this is uncomfortable for you, right? Like me and you talking about this. So I get it. It's not meant to be comfortable, because in order to grow the business, do we need to make uncomfortable decisions like the ones you made in the past? I'm sure you've done something like this before, or you gotta stay where we're at, right? If we continue not making decisions and just staying in our comfort zone, we're gonna grow the business, or do we have to overcome these things, right? But the only reason that they would agree with me is we've gone through this entire process, right? He has to have agreed to me to this point, to where he would agree to me here. He has to follow and understand the logic. And now then I future pace him. Hey, like, man, so future you from now, what would you do now? Right? So, be like, hey, Jonathan, we have to start acting like the person that we need to become, that we want to be. And so what do we need to do now? And the person that we want to be, we only get there through actions, not thinking we're going to be there. right? So what do we need to do? And then we make them say that we need to make a decision on the spot, essentially. So I hope this method and this logical flow allows you to close more deals for your agency or as a high ticket salesperson.